And you're listening to Just About Anything Show. No, you're not. Because if you are, oh my gosh, we have so much more hours to go. But
trust me, I do, as I've said in the other shows I was doing, I do love the radio. And it must have been like something that I said that whatever's in charge of things around here was like, oh.
Me?
I was referring more to like God, but like same thing. They were definitely like, oh, so you're sad this is your last Radiothon? Here's 3 surprise shows. And I'm like, hey, you know what?
You know what? What a great like little track record, though. You get to talk about spooky stuff. You got to play D&D for the first time.
That is honestly like the highlight. Is that I got to play D&D.
You've been waiting for how long, and then it just took a 30-minute improv conversation about D&D and about an hour afterwards. You got to play. I also just realized that I didn't grab my laptop charger, so I'm going to go grab that real quick.
Silly, silly goose.
I'm just a silly, silly goose today because
a silly point. Alex, it's a silly point.
Silly point. Because I woke up at 8 a.m. yesterday, and it's now 5 a.m. Rest in peace, me.
It was like, to anybody listening that may work at the Wendy's, I will not be coming in because I don't know what in my brain was like, I can wake up at 6 a.m. and then do Radiothon and then take a 2-hour nap and then go to work, which, as much as I'm poor and need the money, I don't feel like doing. So, yeah, here we are. I really wish that, like, when I was hearing all of the, like, shuffling around outside, I was hoping somebody was going to sneak into the booth and scare Alex.
Hey.
I was hoping for that.
I would have screamed, and I might have said a bad word.
Hey, it's 5 a.m.
By the way, we have popcorn now.
Yes, if you haven't heard us munching. That's
if you hear a little munch accent going
Welcome
on.
to Spooky ASMR.
Yes. So usually this would be Rolling Records. Well, this would have been Rolling Records. But you know what? I'm having such a good time being spooked right now. Rolling Records been going on for 3 years. It can survive.
Time to retire. No more records to be rolled.
It can survive missing a Radiothon. It'll happen next Radiothon. Rolling Records. But yeah, I'm ready to be spooked.
All right. Well,
I ran out of stories.
I actually have 2. Going kind of off of our last thing, I'll start with the story of Herman Carter. From an early age, Herman Carter understood the human psyche. To analyze and deconstruct something as powerful as the brain intrigued him. He was an apt pupil and gained the attention from his teachers. He excelled in high school and was published in Partisan, a psychology gazette. Within a year, Carter was fast-tracked into Yale's advanced neuroscience program, really a front for the CIA. Brain power is a must if you're about to conquer the world and demolish foes across the pond. The CIA understood this, so interrogation and intelligence became their number 1 priority. All they needed was brilliant people, like Carter. Carter and the other top-tier recruits were transferred off campus and into a secret black site facility in Illinois known as Larry's Memorial Institute. The protege craves a mentor, and that's where Dr. Otto Stamper stepped in, who taught Carter the information is everything and knowledge is power. He was given all instruments needed, a guiding hand, and more or less everything he asked for. He never realized that sunlight had started to become so scarce that he was too kept in the dark. Because knowledge doesn't only give you power, it also transforms you into a threat. To extract information was his mission. Dr. Stamper encouraged Carter to go further and not to consider this a normal medical facility. No eyes were watching them. There was no rules to abide. The agency just pointed Carter in the right direction, and then he started to take a few steps back as he saw how Carter would walk on his own. Docile test subjects were exchanged for real, live spies, people that played a role in the troubles outside of the facility. Carter shouldered his new role. Project Awakening took form, and on paper, Carter described it as experimental interrogation. It was approved, and over a few months, nobody knocked on his door. Screams and moans filled the corridor outside his lab, but war skew people in what they accept, as long as the enemy is kept at bay. The fluorescent lights flickered more and more often. Electroconvulsive treatment became a standard dish on the menu. Prisoners held at the facility begged the guards to take them to any other lab but Carter's. Rumors were disregarded in the beginning, but over the years, Carter became known as the doctor, and no one ever questioned if he had even had a medical certificate, or even what happened to the prisoners after they had given up the information. It was only after the Larry's Memorial Institute went silent for a week that they finally uncovered the true horror of what happened there. Carter's experimental information extraction had turned to horrific and bizarre torture. Patients and prisoners were found dead or in vegetative states with all types of head trauma. In his office, they found the most terrible discovery of all. Dr. Stamper himself, his head peeled open, and an array of electrodes and sensors inserted into his still-working but annihilated brain. There was no sign of Herman, the Dr. Carter, but his research papers suggest that he had been using the prisoners as part of an awful ECT experiment as he searched for basically, as he tried to gain the power of mind control. The government didn't want to know, so the black site was condemned, and all knowledge of Larry's Memorial Institute was retracted forever. The end.
Wow.
Dun dun dun.
Is this a true story?
This is lore.
Lore.
This is lore. So I think sometimes lore can make things less spoopy, but at the same time,
Just like La Llorona
sometimes
is
lore, when it's like people who come up with this stuff, it's almost like not like, oh, is it possible that you can commit these crimes, but if these are the things people think of to write for lore, then what can happen in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Take that, popcorn.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom, 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 nom.
No,
Popcorn.
no.
Would you like my rating
Yeah,
of this story?
absolutely.
I'm
Man.
actually joking. It's this one.
I was about to say we gotta get more spoopy here.
It was level 3. I pressed the button. I was like, oh wait, because I have both the original page and then the 5, and I clicked the third one, but then I realized it's not actually the third one.
Hey, you know what?
It's number 3.
It
Hey.
is what it is.
That shivered me timbers. Truly.
I actually have a story.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna hear it.
So, there was once a night that a man was walking back home from work. On his walk back home, he saw a woman. The woman was wearing like a white dress, long black hair. You just can't really see her face. You can tell she was pretty. As he was walking back home, she calls to him. So he comes towards her. That woman was La Ciguanaba. She is a woman that calls to men to come to her, and then once they get close, she reveals her face that is not a good-looking face, I think, and she kills them. But this
so
man,
ugly. She's
no,
scary.
like a scary face.
Okay.
This man was walking towards her, gets closer and closer until he realizes what it was, who she was, and like turns around, goes the other way, walks home, never sees her again. This man was my grandpa.
This is a
True encounter.
A true encounter.
Yes.
Ooh,
That's pretty spooky.
a real life thing. That is spooky.
That is.
I have another spoopy story that happened to my mom. This all happened in El Salvador. Yeah. I don't know how real it is because obviously my grandpa didn't tell me. My mom told me. But yeah.
I remember distinctly I was on vacation with my family. And we used to vacation in Crystal Beach, and it was just this like small, because I have 1,000,002 siblings. So it was this small house that in the attic, they called it the 7 dwarves beds because there was just a bunch of beds up there. So my siblings and I would be up there. And one night we're just lying there and trying to get to sleep. And all of a sudden, my one sister she starts like, Riley. And I'm like, okay, like what? Stop bothering me. And she's like, there's someone at the end of my bed. And it was just one of those moments where I completely just stopped breathing. I was like, I held my breath and I was like, I swear to God, if I turn around and there's a person, I'm gonna lose it. So I like slowly turn and then there was nothing. So I was like, there's nothing there. And she was like, no, there was something there. And I thought it was like the cars passing with the light. And she swears, like, to this day that it was a person. So we never went back, and I never saw or like felt anything other than just the initial terror of the fact that I might turn around and there might be something I don't know how to handle. But yeah, that's just a little spoop.
Are we all talking about spooky stories now that we've encountered ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I have one
You have a
that is
spook?
not spooky in the traditional sense, but more extraterrestrial.
Oh my gosh, you're not gonna say this one.
What? Do you
I'll
know
allow
this one?
it, but is this the one with the mothership?
Yes.
I'll allow it, but it's
You'll allow it.
funny.
You'll allow the mothership
Yes.
one. Okay. I swear to this day that I saw an alien mothership. That's spooky to me. Personally, I think that's pretty
That's just my
spooky.
car. Just my car.
No, I was over my friend Brendan's house. It was me, Brendan, my mom, his mom, and his brother. We were all sitting around the campfire. And I believe his mother noticed it first, and we looked up in the air, and we saw like a baby blue light in the air. It was initially just heading like across the sky, but then it started going in circles. And I kid you not, it went in like a decently wide circle for like 2 minutes. It just kept going in circles and circles and circles before it eventually just disappeared. And we all saw it. We all saw it happen. We all like agreed, like, yes, like this is exactly what we saw. And it was going too fast in the sky to just be like, oh, that's an airplane really high in the sky. It was going like zooming.
Mm-hmm.
It was zooming around.
Well, that was like, I feel like, and I've talked about this with people, like, obviously if there's like other life out there and it's more intelligent than us, the fact that we haven't found it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that they are smarter than us.
Didn't the government be like, hey, aliens exist like a year ago or something?
Well,
Are you talking
and
about like that 1767 Area 54? I don't know.
Area 51.
Oh, I was right. Oh.
I like it. What makes people think we're the only things here?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole universe out there, and it's like, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, we're not out there looking to destroy other planets. I mean, we're doing a good job at destroying this one, so maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. I'm sad to say I was gonna find I don't know if either of you have watched or heard of the horror movie Sinister.
Yes, of course.
I have
Have you
not.
watched it?
Yes, of course.
It's one of my favorites.
Yes.
It recently got bumped down to number 2 of the scariest movies of all time. Of course, that is just strictly by average BPM anyways. So it's not necessarily like The Conjuring was very high on the list. And to me, I liked The Conjuring. I thought it was well done, but not like something that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to sleep.
Yeah, no.
Whereas Sinister,
I feel like
I thought was so well done because it's the watching of the films alone
yes.
with the music.
Yes.
It's unsettling, it's unnerving,
Yes.
and I wanted to try and find
Yes.
some information on, for those. I mean, not quite a spoiler. The movie's been out for
Long
9
time.
years now. This movie revolves around a family that moves into a house, and then there's this entity, Bagul, that essentially possesses a child and takes their soul. And in doing so, the child then kills their family. So I had wanted to find something, and it turns out it's not real.
I had a feeling
It's just a movie made up deity. I'm like, at least use something kind of real. Because now that destroyed it for me. I was like, oh, I know this creepy story. I'm going to find it. And then everything, it's just lore on the movie.
Yeah.
Sinister 2, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible movie.
Like Riley was saying, based on the movies alone, The Conjuring is not that great compared to Sinister. Sinister, with all of that stuff, especially when you're just like sitting there and you just see like when the face just turns to look at the dude from the computer, and it's just like, oh hell no.
He's a spooky looking guy.
Yes.
And it's just like, I also love that, like, the thing that I hated about the second one was that when you're watching the films, they became like excessive. I'm not a fan of horror movies that use gore or that use any of that kind of thing as being scary. To me, the blood and the guts and stuff, that's not scary. That's just gross. So like I liked in the first Sinister that it's almost like this gradual progression as you're watching the videos where they kind of get like worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like the last one, oh my god, I had a nightmare about that. So spoiler alert, one of the films that in this movie that they watch, the man who moves into the house finds this box of films, and it's the murders of all of the previous families, and he's gradually watching them. And the last one is the family gets run over with a lawnmower, and I ended up having a really bad nightmare for a while where one of my housemates from 2 years ago would run over me and my family with a lawnmower, and it was awful. So,
Oh my god.
fun fact, shout out to Jaden. I know he's definitely not listening, but thank you for running me and my family over with a lawnmower in my dreams. But yeah, I'm not sure if anyone has. I do have like another story pulled up if we wanted to read it. I don't know if anyone else has comments.
I do have a comment on Sinister, Alex.
Yes.
I wish you would watch it.
I don't like scary movies.
You would hate it.
You would hate it, and that's why I want you to watch it.
You would
Because
not
it's not like we watched, what was it that we watched? The first one that we watched. What was the first movie we watched? Because I watched like 5 movies in one day. It was not The Shining. I would not watch that with you guys.
It was
It's
the
exclusive.
one where they were in the house, The Exorcist, maybe?
No, you guys left by The Exorcist.
Amityville.
No. The one with The Conjuring. It was
There
The
we
Conjuring.
go,
Okay,
Conjuring.
so The Conjuring.
What did you think about before you continue? What is your scary rating on The Conjuring?
My scary rating on The Conjuring, just The Conjuring itself. I feel like I'm using this button a lot, but
Yeah, The Conjuring movie is not that great. The actual like stories behind it and like the actual occurrence, even like the people that went through the actual experiences said that the movie did not do what had actually occurred justice because it was much worse. But compared to Sinister compared to The Conjuring, you know how The Conjuring is more like backstory, so you know what happens before the thing. Sinister is like, yeah, there's the backstory, but it's like as it progresses, the suspense and like the terror just progresses as well as you feel as you watch and continue watching the movie, because you're like, is it gonna happen? Like, are they gonna get killed? Like, is the children gonna get possessed? Are they gonna be better?
Well, and I like that you don't find out like the whole scope of it until literally the very end.
Yeah.
There's not a happy ending in this
No.
movie. I am also a fan of, like, I wouldn't call these horror movies. We talked about it briefly. They're more like thrillers, which is Hereditary and Midsommar. I think what really gets me with those is the acting. Well, first of all, it's directed beautifully. It's one of those that you can keep. I don't like The Conjuring, for instance. If I go back and watch that, whatever scared I was before, I'm definitely not going to be the second time, because it's jump scare.
Yeah.
Whereas Hereditary, I've watched it 3 times now, and I notice something different every time, and I'm able to put together what's actually happening every single time, which is really cool. But man, like, I'm not going to give anything away, but the way these actors convey grief, like absolute, like from the gut grief, is definitely what set me off for Hereditary is definitely one of those that, like, it's you're cruising
For a bruising.
then something happens, and from that point on, you are uncomfortable, and everything is just not easy going down.
Yeah, I've heard that Hereditary and Midsommar, they're both thrillers and very psychological.
Yeah.
Really scary.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm not a huge Chainsaw Massacre, Jason, Michael Myers person.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, the history and, like, the relevance of how Michael Myers was the first television monster that could not die.
He is
like,
a classic, yes.
So, yes, like, although that's not scary to me now because we have, tons of other things out now, I recognize its value. But, I mean, come on. How many Halloween movies are there?
There's a lot. Actually, fun fact, a lot of the Halloween movies that are being remade by the original director who first started the Halloween series, which is why it's becoming so popular, because
Really?
he had
Okay.
stopped making them, and now he's redoing the past ones that were done, like the 4 and 5, I think, that he didn't do. Yeah.
That's going to be
And that's
interesting.
just a fact.
I think it's difficult to make a really good horror movie that doesn't rely on jump scares and gore. The big one that I won't watch is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or like Human Centipede. Like, those are disgusting. Like, those aren't scary. I just
Have you watched
vomit.
Wrong Turn?
No.
That's very just like gore too.
Have you watched The Platform?
No.
The Platform is on Netflix. That one's a little bit like gross, but not to the point where I'm uncomfortable because it's gross. Like, there's sometimes things happen and they cause like anxiety in the sense of like, this is just an uncomfortable situation being created, or there's this is just grossing me out because it's disgusting. So that one's definitely very interesting. Again, another psychological one. I think anything that's like, Stephen King's a really good psychological thriller author, and any of his books that he's worked on, like hands-on in the directing, usually end up turning out pretty good too. One thing I will say are either of you familiar with Pet Sematary?
I've heard of it. I have wanted to watch it and I didn't.
I will say, people like were really hyping it up for me, telling me how terrifying it was, and maybe they were relating more to the book. I haven't read the book, but I did watch the movie. Do you know what it's about?
No, all I know
Okay.
is that
So I won't spoil it, but
I don't think I'll ever watch it.
yeah, it's a good movie. I think the premise is terrifying, but like the way people were like talking about it, I thought I was gonna be out for the count. One thing that did scare me and made me out for the count was when I was in the 7th grade. Everyone thought it would be really cool to go to Fright World. I don't know how chain-wide Fright World is. Do you know what Fright World is?
I've heard of Fright
Nope.
World.
So Fright World is a Scream park where they have every year they build. I think it's like five haunted houses, and you go to the park. You pay $20 and you get to go to each of the attractions, and they rotate them and stuff. And sometimes they have, and of course in the lobby they have people chasing you with chainsaws, all that good stuff. But of course, me being in the 7th grade and having major anxiety and overthinking problems, as I'm in line, I'm scaring myself. And I get in there, and immediately my parents have to come pick me up, and I could not sleep for days. And it's so funny that I find myself here in the position where I love thrillers and horror movies, when before I distinctly remember it, because anytime I closed my eyes, I was like, somebody's coming to get me, and I don't know why, because it's very apparent. But yeah, I enjoy a good haunted house as well. I don't know if either of you have been to haunted attractions.
Fun fact, I went to my first haunted house here with these people. By the people I meant Alex. Were you there?
Which haunted house was that?
It was the haunted hayride one.
Oh.
It was you, Mel, and Max and I.
Yes.
How was that? Was it
I remember that well.
was it like actually scary, or was it one of those like, oh, it's Halloween?
It was like jump scare
Yeah.
scary. Want to know what was truly frightening?
Yes.
Michael Myers didn't say hi to me.
The lack of accessibility.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was very funny.
jeez. The true terror.
Yes, I had to, because it branded itself as accessible, but we learned very quickly that if it had rained the previous day, it was in fact not accessible.
Mhm. Very muddy.
The hayride was fine.
Yeah.
But we got to, there was a part in it where
Oh
it
my
was like a
gosh.
maze
Mhm.
type thing. But it was like a maze in the dirt, and it was like in a barn. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Was it a corn maze?
No, it was separated by like plywood and stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it was like outside, so it was like through like dirt paths, but it was all muddy, you
Mhm.
know. And fun fact, here's a fact: wheelchairs don't like to work in the mud.
No.
So,
Anything with wheels, really.
yes, anything with wheels,
Unless
doesn't
it's a
like the
dirt
mud.
bike.
Yes. So what happened was Mel and Yisel carried the wheelchair around while I carried Max around. So I carried Max through the entire maze.
Oh.
Fun fact, actually, that during our actual hayride, a creature thingy went up to Max, and Max was like, "What did they say?" It really made them stop and think, like, "Oh, I know." Can I say that on air?
You can say it on air, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max, you know how Max says sexy all the time?
Yeah.
Max was like, "Oh, sexy." Oh wait, no, not sexy. And he was like, "What?"
like his feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
And this creature full on stopped and was like, you know what? My life is over. I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Yo, Max had the whole hayride dying.
Yeah.
That's one thing that like I love a good scare, but I also love I later returned to Fright World, and I was a fan for a while until I was like, it's a lot of money for not a lot of things. So the fun part when you go with your friends is trying to convince them that you're not scared, and you do that by singing the Canadian national anthem, and sometimes they sing it back to you. So that was fun, and yeah, I think it's. I'm trying to remember if there's so many times that you go in, and it's like the people in front of you or like someone in your group just reacts in a way that like you're just like, okay, like this isn't scary anymore because it's fun.
Yeah.
As long as nobody's hitting people. Oh, that's happened before too. People get punched because, you know, when you're doing a jump scare, people have flight or fight or flight Me, I'm a flight, but some people are fight. So getting a nice.
That was a threat.
Fight.
Some people fight.
But yeah, I'm a fan of a good spook. Halloween is my favorite holiday, which is very cliche, but like there's 6 holidays to choose from anyways, so like it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Since we're talking about, well, we're not talking about it, but the elephant in the room, sleep deprivation.
Oh my lantern. And talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street?
I was going to talk about the Russian sleep experiment.
Yes.
Have you heard of the Russian sleep experiment?
No.
So it's widely regarded as one of the most popular and widest spread conspiracies. The Russian sleep experiment is notorious as much for the gruesome nature of its content as its plausibility. And to this day, a large portion of the articles written about the story are attempts to investigate its validity or to debunk it as a hoax, something that speaks not only to the story's effectiveness, but also to the deeper societal anxieties to which the story appeals. For those who don't know, the Russian sleep experiment is supposedly factual account of experimentation acted on subjects by the Soviet government and military in the wake of World War II. The experiment was meant to explore the effects of sleep deprivation on the human body and was also used to test a new gas that could keep people awake for days at a time. The report documents the degeneration of those experimented upon, individuals commonly referred to within or people who are the test subjects. The horrifying results of the experiments and the crazed, almost subhuman or demonic creatures it produces are often illustrated alongside the story with one image in particular, which obviously it's not showing me it, and we're on the radio. So imagine a scary image that scares you.
Yes.
Scary. It's Robert, and he's watching you, Alex. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was... Yisel just showed me the photo. It's not good. It's scary.
Of what exactly?
Of the one that is associated with... We will show you after.
Okay.
It is very scary. Okay. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick gas porthole-sized windows to monitor these people. And the chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. So, it's okay. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering into the microphones in one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades and the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. They ran the length of the chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of their lungs for 3 hours straight. They attempted to scream, but were only able to produce occasional squeaks afterwards. The researchers postulated that the test subjects had physically torn their vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives were reacting to each other, or rather, not reacting to each other. They continued whispering to the microphones until another captive would start to scream. And eventually, the two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the gas portholes. And the screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering into the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it was impossible no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive, and in fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they were not going to do, and they used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any sort of response from the captives afraid that they were dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice response, "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state of any of them alive. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber, and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fell asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight to the progress of being removed from the chambers, and one of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out, while another was gravely injured, and another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count the ones that unfortunately had to just remove themselves from their projects in the weeks following this incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured, and just a lot of, to save from all the graphics, basically these people who were forced into a room together, forced to inhale this gas to keep them awake, had lost it because the brain needs sleep to function, and they were unable to receive that, and they were screaming so much their vocal cords were severed, and just at some point lost the connection between the respect of their own lives for themselves, where towards the end their only response they would give would be screams or "I must remain awake." So the only remaining subject that could speak was then taken, and his brainwave showed the same flat lines in ones that had died from falling asleep. There's some other parts of it, but that's the general concept of just, again, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier with the asylum, where it's terrible to think that these were people that were forced into a very small confined space, that before, in the asylum's case, you have people who are pre-exposed to mental illness, allegedly, and then put in these positions. Then when you take people who are not in these positions and they come out like this, I feel like it's, again, one of those that you're like, those poor people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the Russian sleep experiment, which is still, to this day, not quite proven if it actually had happened or if it was a hoax.
That was pretty loud.
I am absolutely terrified.
Is it because you haven't slept?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I haven't slept in a while. This music is very unnerving. I've definitely been hearing noises outside the door that are concerning.
I've seen you turn your head, and I'm just like,
Every once in a while, as I'm reading or looking at Yisel, out of my peripheral, I see the camcorder or whatever's next to the camcorder. I think it's like a cabinet or something. And because it's dark in there and it's dark in here, it looks like just like a shadow. So there's been a couple times that I'm like, Alex is about to be snatched by a demon.
I keep looking at the door occasionally.
Which is odd, because even before, when we were hearing the footsteps and stuff, there's no one here.
There's no one else here.
There's no one here but us.
After that, I'm very spooked. I can't wait to end the show.
To be done with spooking? Good thing it's 5:53.
Yeah, it's spoopy hour. I've been spooked.
You've been spooked? Well, I guess it's good that we saved the spoopiest for last.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of something. Usually when I watch a horror movie, I always have to watch something my go-to is always The Office, or just something ridiculous, so that I can go to bed not thinking about terrible things. Yes. So that's definitely what I'm going to do today. Is if I don't immediately pass out when I lie down. But who knows? Maybe I'll be begging to stay awake. No, I will not.
If you do, I'm gonna put you outside the radio station and close the door on you.
Ouch.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch The Office nor go to bed just quite yet because
You have a cheeseburger to eat.
I have much more things to do. I've got Worker Bees, which is the show right after this.
Nice.
Hunter Halterman's game show.
Yes, Hunter's game show at 10. And then the big cheeseburger challenge.
The Hour is
After Worker Bees.
and then there's Mathematical with Cassio.
Yes.
And
Worker Power Hour.
oh yeah, the Goopy Ganks. The Goopy Ganks, they probably will come in and be well rested and be
so
fun.
upset.
I don't know.
If anyone makes fun of us, I'm gonna be so upset. I got you, Alex. If anyone makes fun of us, I got you.
Yo, are we recording?
Yeah.
Good. You need that. You
Evidence.
need that evidence. Yeah.
Evidence.
Anytime in the future Yisel says anything
Yisel's
against
got
it,
me.
you play.
I don't know. I said if anyone makes fun of us, not just you.
Not just Alex? Okay. So it has to be collective.
Yes,
okay.
it has to be
I see that.
collective.
Got it.
I can't see. Before I was really upset that I was going to do the big cheeseburger challenge, and then I had to quit because of work. And I think I was upset because I've decided I'm not going to work. But now just like feeling the way I do,
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine how you're going to do more radio and eat 4 patties and 4 You're doing the challenge, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Let me lay out my schedule for you. Well, let me lay out my last 24 hours plus my next 12 hours.
Okay, the grunge.
Sorry, I had to.
Or the grudge or whatever it's
My
called.
last 24 hours, I woke up at 7:30 a.m.
Nice.
Never.
Got to the station at 9, did radio work till High Noon Friday started at 12. I was on High Noon Friday. I had a little bit of a break, but then I was on DNDVL for 3 more hours.
Nice.
I was on just about anything for about an hour and a half. I was
That was
then
your call, not ours. Just saying.
that is true. Then I was on VGS Mario Kart Showdown for an hour, Local Lowdown backstage for an hour. I made a cameo appearance on Underground Hits for a little bit. Me and Riley had Games Are Us at 1 a.m. Then we had D&D at 3 a.m. Spoopy hour for the past 2 hours.
Yep.
Nice.
Now I have Worker Bees coming up in 3 minutes.
Yep.
After that, I have a count it 3-hour break.
Yes.
Nice.
3 hours
Where
where we're
my-
gonna go get Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, Dunkin' Donuts. At
Only
what time
fuel.
did you say?
As soon as we're done with our show and there's someone here in the station.
Got it.
Pebbles does everything.
Yes. And then I'll be board hopping Radio Buddies at 10 a.m.
Nice.
Then I have the Big Cheeseburger Challenge at 12. And then I have an interview for a podcast I'm making in Westfield at the Grape Discovery Center at 3 p.m.
I totally forgot about that, which is funny because you told me about it.
So I can't wait to meet the president of the Grape Discovery Center after
Sleep deprived.
sleep deprived.
For basically more than 24 hours. I mean,
Yes.
48 hours. I
Not
did the math.
48 hours.
Oh, wait, no. By the end of the night, it will be 48 hours.
Only 13 more days to go before you're plugging up all the holes with your feces-covered paper.
No! Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
God.
can't wait. My girlfriend always wakes up at 7 to take her medication, and I just think it's funny that I'm probably going to be walking in the house as she's waking up. I said that's funny, but honestly, it's making me kind of really sad right now that I'm so tired. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir,
Yeah.
and then to the live radio as well.
Yeah. Well, if you decide you want to get some homework done, I've got the
Working
perfect show.
bees.
I really wish that, like, because when I heard what that show was, I was like, okay, that's not a bad idea, but like,
With how
My-
you are right now,
my brain is broken.
dude,
I
my
don't-
brain's broken too.
I don't
That's why
even
I'm
know
the
how
one
to-
talking.
How to start?
Like, start homework or just start the show?
Like, if somebody was like, do your homework right now. Like, I don't know what I'd open up.
I went into this radiothon thinking, oh, I'll have some time during the night to do some homework, and then like I just got 3 surprise shows thrown on me, and I was
thought
like,
I
you know
was-
what?
I thought I was going to have the budget done. Like, I was like, anytime I'm not on the air, I'll finish like working through the rest of the budget.
I should do that too.
See,
And-
that was a trick though, because the thing was that you were going to be on air the entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, so before Working Bee starts, I need to use the bathroom.
No.
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 Okay, well,
The
let's,
Russians say no.
Any last words for Spoopy Hour before the sweet sounds of Beach Tower envelop the airwaves?
I
Don't
would
be
say
spooked.
Spooped. I've been properly spooped.
there's
today.
a healthy amount of fear to be had in everyone, and respect Robert, man.
Yes, please
what we
respect
learned.
Robert.
Robert, this is for you.
Last Rose of Summer by Beach Tower. Hope you enjoy.
Tis the last rose of summer, left a blooming all alone. All her lovely companions have faded and all are gone. No flower of her kin hatred, no rosebud is nigh to reflect back her blushes and give sigh for sigh. I'll not leave thee, thou lone one, to pine on the stem, since the lovely are sleeping. Go sleep thou with them. Thus kindly I scatter thy leaves o'er the bed, where thy mates of the garden lie scentless and dead. So soon may I follow when friendships decay, and from love's shining circle the gems drop away. When true hearts lie withered and fawns are flown,